So this is Baruch here at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, inviting you and reminding you to buy this book, Jewish Astrology, a Cosmic Science. Something that you look at over and over again. If you're interested in astrology, Jewish astrology particularly, here's a tremendously kosher way of looking at astrology. Not from the astrologer's point of view, as trying to talk to people, mold people, teach people, just to teach you the science of astrology. So this is where we go in right now. But in any case, this is one way to see the 11th and the 8th house. So we just described how the 11th house, that is the second house, 10 houses away is the 11th house, which is the house of friends. 10 houses away from them, that is really what the ultimate goal is the Scorpio, which is in this particular case is where the person wants to wind up. That's his home where he wants to be with Scorpio, because Scorpio has a lot of feeling, and in particular case he mentioned Aquarius, for example, which is a cold sign. So let's go on. The 8th house is always the house of pregnancy, which is Scorpio. And the pregnancy fulfills itself 10 houses away. So he said by giving birth to a child, which is the 5th house. So now we go over here. If we said that this is Aquarius. Let's say the person is Aquarius. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to Scorpio. And we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to Leo. Okay, so this is the Aquarius finding the wife, which is Leo, because they're opposites. See, they're opposite here in this chart. So he says, let's look at it again. So we went through the second, so he said the 5th house is the house of children, amongst other things. So we went through the 2nd, 11th, 8th, and 5th, using the forward or counterclockwise method, which is the material world, the more material. On the subject of children, you will find that a Jewish astrological perspective would go against what is the common assumption in the Western world today. So this is a difference between Jewish perspective. You find that people in the West don't want to have many children because it's an economic burden. For each child costs money, and each kid takes away from the others, and includes elementary schools and all the other aspects of education and raising kids. It costs a fortune. And if a year in school or college costs $30,000 a kid, just say for example, then 18 years of raising them would cost $500,000 each. And if you have 10 children, you would need $5 million. So people realize this and don't want to have many children. But in Jewish astrology, the 5th house, that of the child, fulfills itself in the 2nd house, the house of money. So in other words, you see how it is the 5th house, which is the house of children. You can't have too many children if you don't have money. And this is true even of religious people, many religious people, who just don't have a lot. They have maybe it said 4 children, 3 children, 4 children, instead of 8 children or 7 children or 10 children, because of the money aspect. So therefore, in order to have a strong child, you need money. So he said the house of money. So in other words, children bring money through blessings. So that's a Jewish idea. This is an important point. If you look how the world changed in the last 100 years or so, since the world became industrialized. Today, when a woman becomes a widow and has 5 kids, nobody would be too happy to marry her and support so many kids. But in the old times, the kids would be the source of support for their mother. The kids would work on the farm or otherwise. And also today, the more kids one has, for both men and women, the more it motivates one to do things, to have a job and be able to provide them with shelter, money, and food. When a woman has many kids, compared to being alone, that would motivate her to find work and support them. But if a person has no children, it holds him back. You can sit around and worry about it so much and daydream the whole day. So you don't have to worry about that. So the 5th house of children can only be fulfilled by the house of money, which is the 2nd house. So here we go. We went to the 2nd house, and we looked at, ultimately, you want to have children, you want to be reproduced, but you need money. That's why you have to go to the 2nd house, because if you have children, you have to work and make money. And so this is squaring the circle, going the 2nd house, the 11th house, the 8th house, and the 5th house. Now let's just look at this chart that I have here and see if we can understand. This person is a Libra. his money house is going to be the second house. That's going to be the second house is the house of money, making money. It's the house in the chart of Adam Arishon. It's the house of Taurus. So Taurus is the second house, but here in this particular case, it's going to be Scorpio. So count 10 houses from Scorpio on this man's chart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's what we said. Because teach him, bring him to Leo, which has 2 planets in it, which affects that house. Now, what did he say about the 11th house? The 11th house is the house, well, I could say it again, it's the house of friends. So since he has money from the second house, he's also going to attract people around him who have money too, or the same kind of money that he has. Depending on, some people have a lot, some people have a little, but you'll be in a social group of your peers. That's what kind of saying. So he said then you have Leo. Then you count the Leo, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You got that right? Leo, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You come to Taurus. So you see where the children are located is going to be the 5th house. If you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. You know, this is something that's wrong with what I'm doing. Leo, the opposite of Leo is Aquarius. So let's see. Leo's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It is Taurus. So this person, the children, are going to come out in Taurus. I have to understand how that works, but that's another case. So let's see what else we got. So the 5th house, that is the child, fulfills itself in the second house, the house of money. So in other words, children bring money through blessings. So this is a Jewish idea. So this is an important point. If you look how the world works at James, let's go down a little bit further. And also today, the more kids one has for both men and women, the more it motivates them to do things. We'll go through that. When a woman has many kids compared to being alone, that would motivate her to find work and support them. But if a person has no children, then that's what he said before, then the person won't work so hard. It won't be that important to make a living. So he says, and then you can also use it backwards and make it more of a spiritual sense. So he says material versus spirits, and then we would go clockwise, which would be, instead of going this way, we would go that way. So let's say, for example, here in this chart, or we'll take his chart, what he was saying before. You could go clockwise. It will lead you to the 5th house. So if you start, let's see, going this way, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, that's going to be the 5th house. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know why I'm making the mistake. It should be this one. So Libra is going to be the 5th house. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's Capricorn. Capricorn is going to be square to Libra. So this is going to be, he says that's the 5th house. So 1, 2, 3, 4. But I only count it as the 4th house. So I'm not sure exactly how I'm getting that. So you would leave the 5th house of children. The more money you have, the more desire you would have to expand your family. Money will maybe bring you more romance, since the 5th house is also the house of romance, adventure, sports, and things like that. And if you have money, you could do all the adventure you please. So therefore, the 5th house would bring you to the 8th house. So count for the 5th house. So I'm not sure why I'm getting the 5th house of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? Then count, keep going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Brings you to Aries in this particular chart. So he said, and if you have money, you could do all the adventure you please. And the 5th house will bring you to the 8th house. What's the 8th house? Which is usually Scorpio in the house of Adam of the first man. That is because the desire to have children causes the 8th house to get pregnant. The 8th house is the house of pregnancy. And the 8th house fulfills itself in the 11th by building the society, which is community or the social life. And then the 11th house, which goes to the 2nd house of money. Because the 11th house is that of friends, and the 2nd house is that of money. And friends bring you money. This is because why? This is because sometimes you get things from friends which are actually worth more than a large amount of money. Besides, friends can cause you to have money. They can make contracts for you. They get you ahead in different areas in the world. So once more, you see the cause and effect, that apparatus that are work here. That's a shear here today. This is Baruch Fleischman. There was a little counting problem that I had in going through this, because I'm not dealing with exactly the same chart, but I'm trying to understand it, and I'll work on it in the meantime. This is Baruch.